stand in the back. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Be careful on these snowbanks. Just make sure everybody's getting up safely. Say his name! What's his name?
Yes, sir!
Say his name!
Yes, sir!
Say his name!
Yes, sir!
The last time I was out here for Justice for Yia Xiong, what happened after the family spoke was I saw several people break down in tears, inconsolable. And as you just saw a woman up here crying inconsolably, that is the loss, that is the grief, that is the void that somebody leaves when police steal a life. Usually we're up here talking about young black men or young men of color, and we talk about the potential, we talk about the life that they could have had. But today we're talking about a man who led an entire life and left behind kids, left behind grandkids, left behind sisters and brothers, left behind nephews and nieces. We're here to talk about a man that is an encyclopedia. Yia Xiong put his life on the line in the secret war, and he lost his hearing as a result of it. And in losing that hearing, police did not treat him like a human and adhere to that possibility that he couldn't hear them. Nushu Cha and Abdurrahman Dahir were supposed to be diversity hires. They were supposed to bring in cops of color to be better able to address communities of color. And what happened? They gunned down a 65-year-old grandfather, a senior citizen in the Winslow apartments that are supposed to house disabled people and people over the age of 62.
That's right.
Think of your grandparents. Think of your grandparents, y'all, and how far they've come to be here. A lot of our grandparents stood on the edge of a dime, stood in wars, stood against law enforcement, and stood for a lot of things just to be alive. And you make it all that way just to get gunned down by an AR-15 by a police officer that's only been here for 6 months. If John Troy can't levy charges against those officers, he can at least come out here and stand with the family. Some elected officials are out here, and that's great, but some are not. And the least they can do is come out here and stand with the families. If Amy Bremlin can write a blank check to defend 2 cops that killed Marcus Golden, she can come out here and answer to the people. St. Paul owes you. St. Paul owes you. Your tax dollars have gone into this, and they took the life of a 65-year-old man. Somebody say that ain't right. Somebody say that ain't right. That ain't right. That ain't right. He lived his whole life to live up to that moment. And now it's incumbent upon everybody here to carry his story. That's right. Carry Yia Xiong's story. It's incumbent upon us because the people that we pay for in elected official seats, some of them won't. The people that we pay to hold guns and police our communities, they won't. It's up to us to carry Yia Xiong's story. And even if you weren't related to him, it's still incumbent upon you as a community member to do that. So I'll finish off with saying this. Say his name. Yes, say his name. Yes, say his name. Yes, say his name. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And the next,
Brandon. His name is Brandon.
so the next guest speaker will be Quinn from the Black Panther of Minnesota.
My name is Brandon. I'm just here as a person. I'm not part of any org, any group. I'm just a person. Everybody up here, we are all just people. Everyone here in the audience, we are all just people. But when people come together as a community, and we need to understand that our community is under attack. Race plays such a big part in this. Racism plays such a big part in this, but specifically white supremacy plays such a big part in this. that we can have 2 officers of color. We can have 2 officers of color come in and display an act of white supremacy.
That's right. Right.
The white supremacist mindset is so ingrained into the institution of policing in this country that whiteness does not need to be around for it to continue to kill black, brown, indigenous, native, and Asian people in this country. That's why when I say when our community is under attack, what do we do? Stand up! What do we do? Stand up! What do we do? Stand up! And the city, the state, the government, they're going to tell you that they're going to continue to reform and find new ways to reform that system. But like Tucson said, there were 2 officers of color. 2 officers of color that came in the situation. An elderly man, a war veteran, who was disabled, who was having a mental health crisis. They came in guns ablaze, not to give him help, not to protect and serve him, but to kill him. That's all they did. That's all this institution is meant to do. They're going to tell you that they're going to try to reform it and reform it and reform it. There is no reform that can keep me safe. There is no reform that can keep you safe, because when you are 65 years old, having lived your entire life, potentially having a bad day, potentially having some issues that you need help, these people, this system is not going to help you. This system is not going to help you. That's why we, as people, as community, need to continue to help each other. We need to continue to uplift each other. We need to continue to stand in solidarity with one another. Because it is us versus them. They will never be on your side. The only people on your side are the people standing with you right now.
That's true.
So we need to continue standing together in solidarity. Because like I said, we are all people. It's all we are. And all we want is to be able to live, to exist, to love, to live our lives without fear of being murdered, without fear of being killed by the state, without fear of being killed by anybody. All we can do is be people. But where there are people, there is power. Every single one of you has the power to make a change. Every single one of you has the power to make this world a better place. So when your children and your grandchildren and when your great-grandchildren are 65 years old having a bad day, the police don't come in and execute them. That's right. When I say where there's people, you say there's power. Where there's people, there's power. Where there's people, where there's people, and all we can do is use that power. And I thank each and every one of you for using that power today. And as we always say, all power to the people. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Before we're gonna go next to the next speaker, we have water and snacks right here. If you get thirsty, please feel free to come grab a bottle of water. Okay, so.
Yeah. So we got waters, donuts, cookies, everything's over here. Help yourself to those. And the next guest speaker, community leader, message to the community, to the Hmong community, and to community in general for coming to support, stand for one each other. 我叫做都叫个这个路我湖都种，他叫种的种子种风，这里还能够多讲，非常的一种的。But before we go into our last guest speaker, I just want to recognize it. Professor Rau Yia for being here, Dr. Shirley for being here, Dr. Mai Xiong also being here, and also many other people, other leaders that being showing up here. If I did not say your name, thank you so much for being here. 我叫了被蒙的教授的，我的几个狗被弄了，我叫了这里这里，叫蒙说的我都弄了。And last but not least, I'm introduced to you, Yia Xiong from the Asian American Organizing Project.
Sorry, I'm gonna find the speech really quick.
No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
Yes, hello, my name is Ncees Rau. I'm who organized the Asian American Organizing Project. We are a youth and young people advocacy organization. Youth and young Asian
그런 배요 가서 그 더야 진짜 저 퍼, 저 여대 때문에 있지. 뭐 야와 하여 별로 지팅 한다. 마 하여 별로 미가 또 이런 연속 그런 배 후와 가서 그 더야 진짜 저 퍼, 저 지. 이러고 요 하여 별로 대신 cái ngồi trình mà hai cái luôn như chào cho bây giờ tôi xài rồi nó được nói rồi. Okay. So this is something that's really close to home for me. I am a 1.0 immigrant. I am the son of 2 immigrants' parents who don't speak English and are survivors of war. My mom is a shaman. She has, those wooden and metallic ceremonial knives all over our homes. Yia Xiong was someone that could have been my mom. I was born in the refugee camp, and I spent half of my adolescence living in what is considered a third world country, whereas in the US, it is considered first world. I want to say that living in the first world countries means nothing if our communities are constantly being under attack and killed. I've lived with gun violence in the refugee camp with armed guard militia. It is no different living here. I'm sure some of you already know, but the police was originally intended to be slave catchers. Racism is real, and it is still here. Over many decades, it has developed and transformed. It has developed sophisticated systems to continue to target and marginalized communities. It is in the form of our criminalization system. It is in the form of a school police officer. It is in the form of language and cultural incompetency. There's a saying that youth and young people are the future. This is something that I grew up hearing every day. And I'm sure I'm not the only young person that's heard this saying before. To that, I have a question for Melvin Carter, Chief of Police Axel Henry, Attorney General Keith Ellison, and the other officers involved. Are we truly the future if our communities are constantly being killed by the hands of those in positions of power? As a young queer cisgender male, our society scares the shit out of me. And I'm sure I'm not the only one, especially other BIPOC queers and trans and folks with disabilities. It is okay to be scared though, because fear and strength are not mutually exclusive. During the midst of the pandemic, my supervisor, mentor, and queer organizing elder, Linda Lillis, she's right over there. She said something with me that I want to show you all here and now. Fear, no one is fearless. No one. But even though I'm not fearless, I am courageous. I can use my courage to plant myself firmly in discomfort because change cannot happen and change is not supposed to be comfortable. My courage tells me to examine the fear, understand the fear, and find multiple ways to organize to free myself and us from the fear so that we can continue to break the cycle of harm and violence. Over the past 5 years of community organizing, I've come to learn that there is multiple truths. I can't be afraid and have strength to organize at the same time. So, to everyone here, and especially the youth and young people, I want to invite you all to be afraid and courageous to organize.
Thank you, Alan.
Because this is not the only time when our communities will be killed. And as sad as it sounds, this is not the last time. So, with that, I want to say one last thing. These systems cannot change. We need to keep fighting. not until we fundamentally change institutions that allow such violence and hold those accountable to their actions. So, thank you so much.
Thank you. Wo cho hot message yo sa do pe yo tu chai lo yo thong lo lu te te ka yo ne no le ka chi tu ra cho to hu to ko ne te ne no lu so hu to hu ne le ne yi men to hu to community justice for Yia Xiong pe yo ni ne to pa pe so to. But before we go into the next agenda, I want to recognize the Oromo community activists is here. Ncaj, can you raise your hand so that everybody see? Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support.
Okay, thì bây giờ hai lần mình cả là không đâu nữa, chỉ họ vô hai lần không rồi vô nhiều gì thế ạ. Còn do tiền lúc nào nhớ liều và thằng không cho là một cho lấy được thả là. Giờ này chỉ qua cái tia, tiền dầu nào bây giờ các số đuổi dùng gì? Bây giờ số tiền chương dầu nhớ đâu biết tiền năng biết mà cho họ bây giờ cho và America lừa hai năng lấy in thả kìa. Giờ dùng một thả bây giờ lấy ý đại ra đua lừa America they we are a piece of puzzle. In order to complete the puzzle, we gotta bring our piece of puzzle and combine them together. You can't know you can't get back to you tàu tua. So bây giờ chủ tàu hai cái dân tàu Yia cả tàu dùng nào. No justice, no justice, no justice, no justice, no justice.